Hey guys, Cobra here. This is actually a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. So it's kind of a relief that I finally get to do it. So basically what it is, it's my review of the CDX. The Sega CDX, that is. Well, actually, I guess it's the Sega Genesis CDX, whatever you want to call it. It came out in 1993. It's the fourth type of Sega Genesis that you have. You have the Model 1, which is my preferred model. You have the Model 2, which is still fine. Then you have the Model 3. Now, for me, the Model 3 seems kind of like a cheap last-minute attempt to keep it out there, and that's kind of what it is. I think it wasn't even made by Sega, I don't think. Which I'm not sure that the CDX was made by Sega either, but that's a different story. So if you're going to get a Sega Genesis, first off, go with the Model 1. You shouldn't be disappointed there. But there were also two peripherals that came out for the Genesis as well, the Sega CD and the Sega 32X. Unfortunately for Sega, neither of them did well, so they were just a footnote, and now they're collectible, sure, but back when it came out, it wasn't anything good. And I sort of, and this is sort of off topic, but I sort of see that happening for the PlayStation Move. I mean, it's such a jab at the Nintendo Wii. It's ridiculous. At least when you have Kinect, it's something original, somewhat. So, and if you don't know what those two things are, look them up separate. I'm not going to get into that now. But this might be a two-part video. I don't really know yet. We'll start off by just looking at at the system itself. This is the CDX. It's pretty standard looking, and it's very small. Something I can compare it to, well, here's an NES cartridge. It's hardly bigger than an NES cartridge, and it's just as wide. It's very little and very compact. The fact that they got a Sega CD and a Genesis in there is pretty impressive. But the fact is they did. And did it work? Yes, it is beautiful. The thing just looks pleasing. It's aesthetically pleasing. And while it has its faults, it's one of my favorite systems ever. And in fact, I very highly recommend getting one of these. They're a bit pricey. They could cost up to $200, but you can get one for around $150 or maybe less. But I highly recommend it. You'll get such a great library with Genesis and CD games that it might in the end be worth the extra few bucks. Some quick things worth noting: it's also a tape or a CD player. Back in '93, CDs were somewhat new, so you can actually put batteries in here. There's a little slot for batteries, and put a CD in there. And you're not gonna fit this beast in your pocket, but you could carry it with you in a backpack or something and listen to music, sure. Now that seems a bit, ridiculous when I can fit 8,000 songs on a little thing this big. So, but back in '93, I'm sure this was really cool, and it still is cool. The CD player works fine. There's no complaints there. There's a phone out jack here and a line out jack here. You can plug your headphones in. There's a volume swap switch. On the back here, you have your power adapter, and we're going to talk about this later a little bit because it's very important. And we're going to talk about the AV out. Now, unfortunately, one thing that I don't like is that it's only AV out. I prefer that it is AV out, but when I got this, it didn't have cords, so it would have been nice to have the option for RF. But now that I have an AV option, it's great. But it would have been nice to have the option, but not a big complaint by any means. The buttons on here, as you can see, there's a open button. Opens the oh, my hand was on it. Opens the disc tray here. There's a backwards rewind button, and then a track back button. Go back a song when you're listening to a CD. Go forward, a track button. A pause and a play, and then a stop and reset. And of course, in the front here are your power switch and your two controller ports. Here's another complaint I have with it, and it could be a small complaint or it could be big, depending on how you look at it. Because the controllers are set up, or the controller port is set up like this, you cannot use the Sega Genesis wireless controllers with it. I don't have my Genesis with me right here, it's in the other room, But just to show you quick, I guess the master system I can show you. You see how these controls, these two ports right here, are right next to each other? Well, the Sega wireless adapter plugs into those two ports at the same time. You can't do it any other way, because all Genesis models have the two controller ports right next to each other, and they fit every one of them except the CDX. If the only controllers you have are the wireless ones, that might be a deal breaker, but most people don't, and controllers are cheap anyway, so go out and get one. Not a big deal. But you would think that with a system this advanced, that they would have at least thought about that. Now, there is one way you can get around it. Sort of. It's kind of a pain, but you can actually get two extension cords and plug it into the wireless receiver for the controller. It'll make your controller wireless, but you'll have a wired mess. I guess we'll move on to the AV. I talked about it earlier, but I'm going to bring it up again. This uses the AV cord that the Genesis 2 and 3 use. The one for the Genesis 1 and the Sega Master System is completely different, and it will not work. Sega's very particular with their cords, and it's a pain for the consumer, but whatever, I'm sure they made money on it somehow. So you'll need the Genesis Model 2 or 3 AV cord, and you can get them online. They're very common. There's a ton of aftermarket ones. I got mine for just a few bucks. It's not a big deal. But the power adapter is a different story. This is where a lot of people are confused, and I was even confused had I not confronted somebody about it and asked about it. It requires a 9.5 volt power adapter. The Genesis 1, I believe, came with a 10 volt, which wouldn't fit this anyways, but the Genesis Model 2 and 3 came with a 9 volt power adapter that will fit this. So a lot of people just assume, use that. But you actually, while you can use that, it's very highly not recommended at all. Because actually, when you have the wrong voltage like that, it can do damage to your disc reader. The lasers on it, so don't do it. It's not a good idea. Here's what I recommend. Go online and look up the Sima Sup 60 camcorder, a power adapter. This is what it looks like. I'll describe it below so you can spell it correctly or whatever. And it's very cool. It has a interchangeable head, so it comes with multiple heads you can put on it. Male and a female head, of course. And one of them fits it pretty well. It's very snug in there. It's a good option. And what else is cool about it is that it has options for you to change the voltage, and one of the voltage options is 9.5. So that's what you'll have to use. Is 9.5 volts. If you can get a 9.5 volt somewhat other way, more power to you. But this is what I recommend. They're not expensive. And that's how I got around it. And by the way, there are several models of this. There is the original, which is the one you need, and then there's like an X model and an LX model. I know for a fact that the LX model does not have a 9.5 option. I don't know if any other does, but just to be safe, go with the 60 model. No LX, no X, nothing. And if you're going on eBay, do not get it from Tech for Less outlet, because they have it listed as the original, but they actually ship you the LX. I got a bad experience with that, and I had to, get a new one. So don't get it from them. See if you can, and contact the seller before you buy it, and ask them and make sure. It's, that's the best way to do it. So in conclusion, just get the 9.5, that thing, and you should be set. I guess we can move on to the controller ports. There's a slight problem with them, I've found. Something I don't like about them is they face away. This one, the controller port faces this way, and the number 2 faces this way, and number 1 faces this way, which is not a big deal. But if I'm sitting somewhat far away, and I have the controller plugged in like this, and let's say I'm sitting over here, if I'm sitting somewhat far away and the cord is kind of tight, if I move somewhat, it's going to pull it this way, and it could cause disc skipping or whatever. It's something worth noting, but it's not a big deal. And also, the last thing, is the cartridge slot. Of course, you need that. It's very snug. It fits everything very well. Let's get one of my favorite games in there. It's very compact, and it feels nice in there. It works. It works really well. In fact, this works better than my actual Genesis does. Very few times do I have to blow in the cartridge and put it back in. It's very good. Okay. So now some things on the more technical side. It's slightly more powerful than the original Sega CD. You'll notice that when you turn it on, there's a version model number up in the top right hand corner, and it's actually higher than the Sega CD model, which is nice because it gives you better, quality or whatever. So that's good. That's a big positive there. I've heard that you cannot use a 32X in this. I don't know if that's true or not, as I don't have a 32X, but just be noted that when you buy one, you may not be able to use your 32X. And I also don't know if the power base converter will fit. I don't think it will. It doesn't look like it will. I don't have one again, so I can't test that out. But be noted that it may not work. So basically, that's everything as far as the system goes on the outside. The big thing with this is the games. Everybody knows that the Sega CD does not have the best game library. But in my mind, it's very, very, very underrated. There are some great games for this system. It's just that not very many people bought one, so they're not very well known necessarily. I'll show you some of my favorites. Pretty much every game I have, I enjoy. So we'll just go through them, and these are all games I would highly recommend. The first one is The Amazing Spider-Man vs. Kingpin. Very good here. One of the better Spider-Man games. This one I actually got in the mail, and it was sealed when I got it. I didn't pay for a sealed copy, but they sent it to me sealed, so I never opened it. But I have played it, trust me. This one's Battle Course. It's okay. It's a first-person robot game. Not bad. One of the better games, I guess. Bouncers. This is a very unique game. It's actually a basketball game, but you are the basketball, and you have to bounce off the other player to make your baskets. It's really fun, very addictive, great for two-player. Dracula Unleashed. I got this with my CDX. I don't recommend it. It's a full-motion video game. Here's Echo the Dolphin, Tides of Time. If you like Echo, you like that. There's some full-motion video in it, which adds to it. Sylphid, great shooter. And then what some people regard as the best game on the system, Sonic CD. And it's very good. If you're a fan of Sonic, you'll love it instantly. I actually have 2 copies of Sonic CD. If anybody's interested in a trade or buying it, just send me a message, not a big deal. Starblade, here's another shooter. It's very much like Star Fox, kind of polygon graphics, everything like that. And then one of my favorite games, I want to say ever almost. I have a lot of fun when I play this, The Terminator. It's a side-scrolling shooter, and I really like it a lot. It has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in my life. It's great. But there are some other great games for this, like, I actually have a few, Soul Feast is another good one. It's like Life Force, sort of, for the NES. And there are some other good ones. And, like Road Rash CD is a good one. Mortal Kombat is pretty much like the other Mortal Kombat, so if you need it, fine. But as far as games go, it's very underrated, and there are some good games that you will enjoy. I don't really know where to go from here. It's a great system. It's sometimes